Welcome back. Today's video is in three parts. The first part are the stages of Shambhavi Mudra. The second part is an amazing technique that you can apply in Shambhavi Mudra, which will propel your meditation forward. And the third thing we're going to talk about are the stages of seeing the spiritual eye, what you can expect, and that will give you an idea of what is to come. So then when it comes, you can recognize it more easily. So stick around. Okay, so the stages of Shambhavi Mudra. In the first stage, of course, we're just taking the two eyes and we're looking up to the one spiritual eye. And this is very easy, very gentle. You don't want to strain your eyes. If you start to feel strain, look down, relax your eyes, just let them wander around with closed eyes. It doesn't matter. But you don't want to stay in strain because that is the sympathetic nervous system. That's the wrong nervous system that we're trying to elicit. That's the first stage, is we're just learning to look up. And I'm showing you with my open eyes, but of course, you want to relax your eyelids and allow them to close while keeping your eyes looking up towards the spiritual eye. So that's the first stage. We're just learning to make it a habit, which is the second stage. When it actually becomes a habit, you don't have to think about it. And in that stage, you'll know you're in that stage, because if you sit to meditate, maybe you're trying out a different technique, or perhaps you forget for a moment and you're like, it just doesn't feel right, until I lift my eyes to the spiritual eye. Okay, now it feels correct. When you reach that stage, you know it's a habit. Whenever you check your eyes, you notice they're still there, they're still looking up. So that's how you know it's become a habit. It's there for you. It's there backing up your meditation and inducing that dorsal parasympathetic nervous system. You're inducing a very deep expression of the dorsal parasympathetic nervous system when we look up towards the spiritual eye. So when that's a habit, that's there for you. It's backing up your meditation. And the last stage, when the first knot of Lahiri Mashaya, when his first knot overcomes us, then we may feel a drawing sensation. And you might feel it one of two places. You might feel it in the spiritual eye, or also known as the kutastha, or you might feel it in the actual origin of that, which is the medulla oblongata. And how do we find the medulla oblongata with our heart mind? We find it by remembering back to an aha moment, and we go, oh, that's right. Now I remember. Now I get it. Now I get it, right? That's the aha moment. And when that hits you, what happens? We strain our neck back toward the medulla oblongata for just a moment. And that's how you find the medulla with your heart mind, with your sense of feeling. So when you feel a pull at the medulla or at the spiritual eye, the eyes will automatically be drawn up in a magnetic sort of way. And you may feel that at first as just a strong sensation at the spiritual eye, and as that progresses, it will become more and more of a magnet. Now, if that sensation becomes overwhelming, remember the medulla and send your attention back to the medulla, and that will balance everything, because the medulla is the origin. Remember, the Ajna chakra is not the kutastha. It is the medulla and right above the medulla. Okay, so those are three stages of Shambhavi Mudra. First, we're working on it. We're trying to turn it into a habit. Second, it becomes a habit. And finally, we are actually drawn to it as we enter the first knot of Lahiri Mashaya. Now, I wanted to go over a very amazing technique, and this comes to us by way of Anna Wise. Anna Wise was an amazing meditation teacher. She made huge strides in understanding meditation and teaching meditation, and I fully recommend any of her books or audio recordings. I'll have links below if you're interested. She was amazing. Her Kundalini was awakened. She was the real deal. She had several great masters she was working with, and she was working with Maxwell Cade, and Maxwell Cade was teaching meditation and trying to find new ways to teach meditation, and along the way he developed what became known as the mind mirror. And they would hook up sensors to the skull so that they could pick up brain waves, and they began to study the brain waves of psychics, meditators, Zen monks, swamis, and they learned an incredible amount. We're going to talk about brainwaves for sure because it's so valuable in understanding meditation. So the thing that Anna said about lifting the eyes to the spiritual eye, that is just looking up like this to the spiritual eye, the thing that she said, which is so amazing, is the act of moving the eyes from looking straight ahead, right? The act of moving the eyes from looking straight ahead to looking up to the spiritual eye is when you see a burst of alpha brainwaves. It's the action of moving the eyes from normal to up, to normal to up. That movement is what induces in us automatically a huge alpha spike in brainwaves. Now, alpha brainwaves are not where you want to finish your meditation. They are where you want to begin your meditation. So this is a really wonderful way to begin your meditation. So we want to get into meditation. We want to follow the breath. We want to forget about the eyes and just have them up, right? We want that second stage where it's just a habit, and we want to forget about it and move on to watching the breath. Maybe we can think about the spiritual eye and the breath at the same time. That's wonderful. But we want that stage where it's automatic. But here, in the very beginning of the meditation, try this out, okay? When you sit down and you're all comfortable and you're beginning to reduce your breath rate, just look up, look up, look up, look up. Look up about 5 or 6 times like that and see what it does to you. See how you begin to feel. You're going to feel very relaxed. You're going to feel a shift in your mind, in your being. And that's what I want you to notice, is that shift. And that is alpha. And it is the doorway to deeper brain waves. This is where we begin, and inducing that will help you get past the left brain and the linguistic mind. So it will help you get into the right hippocampus. It will help you to get into the expansive states, okay? It's a beautiful window into that. So you just look up, look up, look up at the beginning of your meditation 5 or 6 or 7 or even 10 times, whatever feels right to you in your meditation. But try that out because it's a phenomenal little trick for Shambhavi Mudra. I bet you probably never heard that before, right? So that's something for most of us which will be totally new, and it gives us something to hold on to. It's not just, new age mumbo jumbo that we're playing with. It actually induces alpha brainwaves. It's for real. And you're going to notice it, you're going to feel it. And that's the beginning of a trance state. See, we're not looking for concentration and foveal concentration, because that's the left brain. That's the sequential scientist. And we need that part of the brain, okay? I'm using it right now when I'm talking to you and I'm giving you a plan which is sequential, right? But in meditation, we want to try out a different part of the brain We want to use more of the brain more often, and so we want this ability to get into this expansive state, and that takes a bit of a trance. So it is concentration, but it's a different how concentration, and that is a more trance-like concentration. It's a fascination. It's a oh. If you behold a little baby, a newborn child, a sunset, a sunrise, or something that sets your heart on fire, you are mesmerized. You are, oh my goodness, right? You are in the moment 100%. You are there. And that is an expansive how of concentration, you see? So it's very different from this. So if somebody says concentrated meditation, you think, oh, this. No, no, no. It's, oh my God. And using that little trick will help you get there. Okay, so the last thing that we promised in this video, the thing that I realized about the spiritual eye is that it is light, right? And so every time you look at a light, it's gonna be a little bit different. And the spiritual eye is no different. In fact, it's different every single time that I see it. Now there are stages and things that we can recognize, we can piece it together. It doesn't become so mysterious, right? But it is different every single time because it's a light. You're looking back into your own nervous system. That's all it is. It's just your own nervous system. The Om is your own nerves vibrating, and you are listening to it. And you're not just listening to the beginning sounds, you're listening to the whole sounds, and that's what creates the Om. And the spiritual eye is the same way. When you finally begin to see the actual spiritual eye, it may start out as a deepening darkness in the center of your vision. So one of the names of the spiritual eye, you probably know this, is Brahmari Guha, which means cave of honey, or cave filled with honey. And so when you first see it, that may be exactly what it looks like. It may look like a deepening darkness, like a cave. Like you're looking, like you're in the night and you suddenly see a cave, and it's a darker space in your vision. Okay, so that might be the first thing you see. And this is not linear. It could be all over the place, but I'm going to present it to you in a linear fashion so it can kind of make sense. You can kind of figure out how it can possibly progress for you. Now, the second thing you might see is the beginning of a rim of light, and it might be a whitish or a goldish or a yellowish for you. And that will eventually turn into a whole circle of white or yellow or gold. So it might be like a half moon or a bottom half of a moon, or this side of the moon or that side of the moon. It can kind of peel off on one side. That's very, very normal. So that's the second thing you might see. Third thing you might see is you might see that whole thing. It might be white, it might be yellow, or it might be brilliant, fiery gold. Okay, quick story. This is my favorite story. Jason and the Agronauts. Jason is told that he is a prince, and to become king, he must go and fetch the golden fleece. The golden fleece, right? So he gets in an ark, which is the ark of your own skull. And he travels with 50 heroes, which if you take out the 0, reduces to 5. And that's how mythology works. If it's 50, it actually means 5. He gets in the ark with 5 heroes. Do you know another story with 5 heroes? I do. It's called the Mahabharata, or the Bhagavad Gita. The Pandava brothers. There are 5 of them. Same story. So Jason travels with the agronauts, the 5 heroes, in an ark, and he goes on a long adventure, and he finally winds up at the crashing rocks, right? Which are symbolic of the 2 frontalis bones in the forehead. And they are open up for a second and then close, and they open up in a second and then close, which is your own breath. As you breathe in, this sinus fills and it expands that point momentarily. So the heroes follow a white dove through the crushing rocks, and they make it through, and they immediately get to shore and set up an altar and pray to Apollo, the god of the sun, right? And he appears to them with a golden flowing mane. That is, his hair was golden and flowing like the sun. It's all a metaphor. It's all your spiritual eye. Every Greek myth that you've heard all relates to meditation. It's all meditation. Mount Olympus is us. When we sit to meditate, we are the mountain. And this is Olympus, the top of Olympus, where the gods live, right? Okay, so first it's a cave, then it might be a half moon or a half moon, and then finally it's you start to see the whole thing, right? And it's this brilliant gold. And after that, the gold might possibly disappear, and you will see just a beautiful, deep, beautiful indigo or purplish blue, okay? And there's a feeling to that. That color is deeply associated with the limbic brain and the theta brainwave, and you might feel some of that in that blue. Then you might see the brilliant gold and the blue, the deep, deep blue, together at the same time. And that might fluctuate back and forth. One time you might see the gold, the next time you might see the blue, next time you might see both, okay? Then finally, you might see just that cave again, and this time you'll see a white star or a tiny white dot. And then that white dot may get bigger, the white star might get bigger, and you might see the star and the blue together. And then you might see the gold ring, the outer golden ring, and you might see inside of it just the white star. And then finally, you might see the gold, the blue, and the star in the center. And then you might go into it a little more. It might expand for you, and you might see a larger white star. And in that cave, right, you don't have to go through it, by the way. Just being in it is plenty. In that cave, things may come to you. Messages may come to you. So those are the stages of seeing the spiritual eye. Those are approximations of what you might see. So I want to give you an idea so that when these things start happening to you, you can kind of have an understanding of what the progression might be and what your experience might be, so that you can feel comfortable and relaxed in all of it and just sit back and enjoy. All right, I hope this was valuable for you guys. Take care, hit subscribe, and I'll see you next time.